Hello and welcome to the NFL Week 2 pregame show brought to you by JV Sports. We've got an exciting slate of matchups here today. I'm Jason Wills and this is Vincent Valente. Ton of games, we got a ton of stuff to go over. We're going to be going over Thursday night game from, of course, Thursday. We got all the Sunday games, the afternoon games, the night game, and then the 2 Monday Night Football games as well. So we got a lot to talk about. First thing is the Thursday night game. Chargers versus the Chiefs at Arrowhead. It's an AFC West divisional matchup, which is a lot of people think all 4 teams could make the playoffs. And it was final score 27-24. Chiefs win that one after a decisive pick six, 99 yards in the red zone. Put the Chiefs over on top. And Justin Herbert was playing through injury for most of that game. And there's some concern about his health for the rest of the season. You know, both games he's kind of looked a little hurt. So, see where that goes. Any notes on the game, Vincent?
I don't watch much of it, but that pick six was huge. Herbert playing through the injury. I mean, he kind of had to do it for his team. I don't have no idea. Or wasn't it Tyrod Taylor who their backup is? I don't think he's really that good. He's not awful, but like...
No. Well, yeah.
I don't
think... No, he's on the Giants.
Oh. Okay, well yeah.
You're just saying it because, it's the same doctor that, ruined his lungs, that led to Herbert playing, so...
Yeah, so... The bad Chargers doctor, I guess. I didn't really watch that much of the game, but saw the first half. It was kind of boring. That's about it.
Okay. Well, yeah, Herbert, at some points, there was one point where he could have picked up a first down with his legs, and he literally just didn't. He couldn't run.
Oh.
He had to I'm pretty sure he threw it away or just slid, before right where he was. So that's concerning, but
Concerns?
We'll see how that goes. Now we're going to dive in to the rest of the week's slate of matchups, starting off with Vincent's first exciting game of the week. Take it away.
But the Buccaneers traveled to New Orleans to face the Saints. Both teams coming off of impressive wins. The Saints had a comeback win against the Falcons, whilst the Bucs beat the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. The Bucs won 19-3 in a fairly impressive win against the pretty good Cowboys offense. Even though towards the end of the game they started to get Dak got injured.
Yeah.
Not started to, but still, their offense did not play that good. Only had 1 touchdown, too many field goals. And the Falcons-Saints game, I think, just had way too many flaws for the Saints. They ended up winning against a comeback because it's the Falcons. But they should not have been down that much. The Falcons are not supposed to be a good team, and I thought they were going to end up losing. The Saints were going to end up losing. But they did have an impressive comeback, so that's something to look forward to. But still... definitely something that they need to work on. And I think that the Saints will win this. A little bit of my prediction early. I think that the Saints are going to win this game because Tom Brady just has not been able to beat the Saints in the regular season. So, and also they're without Chris Godwin, and I'm pretty sure they're also without Julio Jones for tonight's or this afternoon's game. And so my keys to the game will be the Saints wide receiver, Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas has played really good last week, but he's been injured for a while, and now he's going to play a much better Bucs defense, even though he did good against a good corner in A.J. Terrell, but this is one of the first good receivers he's faced, only being a young corner. And, yeah, that's all my keys to the game.
And I don't know if you knew this, but Kamara's also out for this game, so that
I thought he was still questionable.
No, he's out. He's not playing. So that's a hole, he didn't have the best game last week. He was held to 80 yards, I think. Same with some of the other running backs. They're looking to do good. I know Eckler in week 1, as well as Derrick Henry. So some running backs definitely had down weeks. I think Kamara's could definitely be just because of this injury. I think it was a ribs issue.
A lot of ribs issues this
week. A lot of, definitely. Now going into Vincent's second game, America's game of the week. Take it away.
Yep. Cowboys and Bengals. Dallas has their second straight home game, starting off with 2 home games. They play Cincinnati. Last week, as I mentioned with the Bucs game I was just talking about, they played the Bucs. They lost. Their defense played really well, but their offense just did nothing. Now that they're without Dak Prescott, I just think that there is no chance that they win this game. But, I mean, Cooper Rush won a game against the Vikings last year, so there's a chance. But it was the Vikings, and last year they were not that good. And the Cowboys still had Amari Cooper then, and their team was a lot better.
Definitely.
So, I don't see that happening. But, recapping off Cincinnati's last week, they had a bad loss. Joe Burrow played really bad with, was it 4 interceptions, right? 4
yes.
interceptions and a fumble. He still was able to do pretty well at the end, but not enough with the block extra points. That game was just a wild game, but they should have won it. The Steelers are not looking that good, or maybe they are, but I don't think they're looking that good. And the Bengals should have easily won that game if they just if Burrow didn't do that bad. But Jamar Chase, who is one of my keys to the game, played very, very well, even though his quarterback played very poorly. He had a really good game. I forget if it was 1 or 2 touchdowns. I don't know the exact stats, but I know he had over 100 receiving yards. He had a couple of touchdowns called back. He did have that one touchdown that we thought would be the game-winning touchdown, but that ended up being...
Game. Yeah.
Well, I said we thought would be. Yeah, it sent it to overtime, but it should have won the game. And him against Trayvon Diggs, we saw that matchup in college a little bit, and LSU won that one. I think Jamar Chase burned him a couple of times, and this is a pretty big make-or-break game for Trayvon Diggs, even though a lot of people think that he's a good cornerback. He hasn't played many receivers as good as Jamar Chase, and especially in this new year. Last game, he didn't play awful. No interceptions like he had almost every game of last year. So he didn't play completely awful, but he also did not play good. Let up 1 touchdown to Mike Evans, the only touchdown of that entire game. But the Cowboys' offense, my other key to the game, will be the quarterbacks. Their offense did nothing, even with Dak Prescott. Had 1 field goal in the first drive of the game and got nothing after that. And they could have easily won that game. 19 points is not enough points to usually win a football game, but they just did not play good, and I think Joe Burrow will play better. I don't know how Cooper Rush is going to play, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, looking just at this matchup, personally, it's going to be definitely a Bengals dominated game offensively, as well as just all around on the football and everything. It's going to be hard for Dallas to really get much going, especially without Dak and stuff. So now we're going to move on to the next thing, which is going to be my first key matchup of this week, and it's going to be Green Bay versus the Bears. So the Sunday Night Football, it's I mean, we all know Aaron Rodgers has defeated the Bears a bunch of times, and it should probably be a Packers dominated game. But last week, Bears won, Packers lost. Bears lost. Bears beat a Niners team that is looking to be a playoff contending team. So
is that even a real game though? Did you see that slip and slide?
If it was fair for both teams, right? You're both playing in the rain.
I guess, but
you gotta play to the conditions. If it's just a no game, you still gotta play.
Yeah, but it's I don't know.
And I mean, Green Bay, that bad performance by them, they got dominated by Minnesota last week. Justin Jefferson, 184 yards, 9 catches, and 2 touchdowns. He had 33 fantasy points in the first half, and then in the second half, he only had a couple catches and a few targets. And Rodgers only had 195 passing yards. Probably going to be a bounce back game, as like I said, he's become basically the owner of the Bears. I think they've won once in their last 12, and they're 23 and 5 against him in his career. So it should be Green Bay victory. A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones looking to have good games. With weaker receiving core, I know Allen Lazard, I don't think he's playing till like week 5.
No, yeah.
So those guys are going to be a huge part of the offense. If they have good games, the offense is going to have good games. Because, I mean, Rodgers, you're going from... I mean, I know he kind of made the joke with like the Hall of Fame thing, but you have Devontae Adams, who's one of the best receivers in the league, and now you're going to a bunch of rookies, Sammy Watkins and Robert Tonyan. Like, it's he can't. I mean, he's not going to be able to throw the ball with it like just well, and like his receivers aren't as good, so it's going to be harder for the passing game to be successful.
Even though Green Bay did not play good last week, same thing happened last week of week 1. And everyone's saying that they're going to be horrible this year. Last week, I don't know what the score was, but I remember it was like 40. Yeah, 30-3 that
38
against the Saints. Saints were a pretty good team last year, but probably about maybe the Vikings are going to be a little bit better than the Saints were last year, like record-wise. And I just think that they could still bounce back. They played completely awful that first week, and they still made it to the playoffs. They choked in the playoffs. They still got the 1 seed, so they could certainly do it with a bad first week loss. And I think that last game against the Saints was a lot worse than this loss. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Rodgers doesn't like coming into week 1. He just doesn't seem like he plays to a standard as well as he does the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's won MVP twice, but still, you can't come into week 1 throw less than 200 yards and like be looking good. So, you know, I mean, you kind of brought it up. Like the Bears win, it wasn't like impressive, but they still won. So you can't take that away from them, and they were still able to outplay the Niners even if it wasn't the rain. Now for the final key, because we don't have our other co-host Pat in the building with us today on the show, as he's at the Giants-Panthers game. Last game is a Monday Night Football game. It's the Bills. It's the Titans. We've seen these teams face off a couple times in the past few years, notably, I believe it was like week 7 on Monday Night Football last year. You know, Derrick Henry had a huge game. It was a close game. Bills lost 34-31, or 34-31. Titans had an impressive goal line stand where Josh Allen tried to get a QB sneak for the win instead of going for the tie. I guess that kind of affected playoff seeding a little bit there. Chiefs would have been the 1, Bills probably 2, or they'd be tied with Titans and stuff. But on to this week in the present, we got. I mean, I'm taking Bills with this game. They dominated the Rams last year. It was
last week.
Yeah, not last year. Last week it was a crazy game. Josh Allen with almost 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Diggs, 8 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. And the only concern were the turnovers. Josh Allen, he had 2 interceptions. Well, one of them, I wouldn't credit it as his fault, as the guy kind of caught it and then like
dropped it into the guy's hand.
Yeah. The other one could be argued that it wasn't his fault, but we can't just like act like Josh Allen's like doesn't make mistakes. Like you can't just not put any blame on him at all. And now, like the Titans, they were looking good in the first half. I think they were up 20-1. I don't think maybe 17, not 20-1, 20-0. But I think it was actually 17-0. And in the first half, they were great. Second half, they didn't play well. Let the Giants come back. And you know, with the lead, you want to be able to run the ball. You want to be able to run down the clock. Derrick Henry did basically nothing. 82 yards on 21 carries. Like that's like 3-4 yards a carry. You're not picking up first downs with that on 3 plays. Like especially because you're not just gonna run the ball every time. Like, but you want Henry to be having like he didn't have a touchdown. This is a guy that's like one of the best running backs in the league, and coming into week 1, you put up 80 yards and no touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be play calling, but still, with like 21 touches. And you got put up 82 yards. That is not good. And, I mean, they let Saquon dominate on the ground. 164 rushing yards. I mean, I don't want to like really say he's back because it's week 1 and he has injury concerns, but he looked good. You can't deny 164 yards rushing against the team that like was the 1 seed in the AFC last year. Sure, they're different. They don't have AJ Brown
or Robert Woods.
You mean Julio Jones? They didn't have Robert.
Oh wait, never mind. Now they have Robert Woods.
Now they have Robert Woods.
That's what I meant.
But I mean, Julio was out and like Robert Woods was out, so like not sure how big an impact that'll be. But yeah, there's definitely some concerns. I think it's going to come down to Derrick Henry again. Can the Bills stop him on defense? One of the best defenses in the league last year, and they got Von Miller added to their team, who had 2 sacks.
Yeah.
On Thursday night last week, so that will be a big thing to look.
Also, Derrick Henry was injured, and he got to play the Bengals game, but that was the only game that he's played since week was that when he got injured? Week 8, yeah. It was the only game that he's played since week 8 of last year, so that's more than a year since he played, or maybe not more than a year since he played, but pretty close to a year since he, like, played. Well, I don't know what I'm saying now, but, like,
it's been a while since he's played. He's missed a ton of time, so that's true.
Yeah, he's missed a bunch of times, so he's still probably getting warmed up.
Definitely. You don't want to just discredit everything that he's done in the past because of a couple bad weeks. Yeah. And, I mean, that Bengals game, he had a touchdown, right?
Yeah, he played pretty well that Bengals game.
I mean, that game was on Tannehill.
Yeah.
But now, moving on to the next part of the show, we're going over possible upset as well as closest matchup for today. I think I'm going to go first, and the game that caught my eye is, Jags Colts.
Yeah.
Colts, I don't think it's been like a long time since they've beaten the Jags at home. Last year, everyone thought they were going to be able to break the curse. They weren't able to. They got kind of destroyed, and that ruined their playoff chances.
Yep.
Eliminated them from the playoffs. So I'm taking the Jags. It's Doug Peterson's first home game with the Jags. It's the home opener. If there's fans, they're gonna be there. Like from what they saw last week, it was a close game against Washington, and in that Carson Wentz looked good. Both teams looked pretty good, and Trayvon Walker was really good. He had a sack and an interception, so defense is looking like decent. I don't want to say like really good because they're kind of a bad team the past 2 years. Yeah, but they like looked good.
Yeah.
And then closest matchup, I think I'm gonna have to go with it's either Eagles Vikings or Cardinals Raiders.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna have to go with Eagles Vikings here, just because the Cardinals, they kind of got destroyed, and the Chargers were in a close game. I can see Devontae Adams just having a really good game today. So see how that goes. Now, Vincent, your possible upset, closest matchup.
My possible upset, I don't exactly know if this would be an upset. I see a lot of people who are predicting the Ravens to beat the Dolphins, and I think they're favorited. But it's not going to be that huge an upset. But I definitely think that the Dolphins could win. They look like a much better team than the Ravens. They beat them last year. I see the Dolphins winning this over the Ravens. And that's my possible upset. And my closest game, I think, would also be Vikings-Eagles, but since Jason already talked about that, I'm also going to go with the one that he was deciding between Raiders-Cardinals. I think the Raiders will still win, but I could still see a really close game, and, yeah.
Thinking about it, I kind of just skipped over talking about the Eagles-Vikings game. I kind of just talked about how the other game won't be close. Eagles-Vikings, you got 2 receivers that had great week 1s.
2 of the 2 best week 1 receiver performances.
But were they top 2?
Both of them, yeah. Or at least yards-wise.
Jefferson had the best week because he had 2 touchdowns. Brown was really close to that touchdown, the play where he dragged a guy 15 yards.
Yeah.
So those guys are really good. You got rushing attacks that were pretty. I know the Eagles had a much better rushing attack. I feel like Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook didn't play much. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, he didn't play much. Madison got touches and stuff, but it should be close as both these teams were on the playoff bubble. Eagles made it in, Vikings didn't. But these are teams that people are looking to win their divisions this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of them can. Like, yeah, you got really good talent on both sides, offensively as well as defensively. I think the Eagles are a little bit better, like on the defensive side of the ball. But with Justin Jefferson, it's hard. Like he's not gonna have as good of a week as he did last week against Green Bay. I could see him getting like 100, 110 yards with a touchdown. But if Gannon and the defense are able to just contain him and just make him go to Thielen, make him go to Irv Smith, make him go to Osborne, Jalen Reagor, try and limit Justin Jefferson as best as they can, and they should be able to keep it close, and then just let Jalen Hurts in the home opener at the link. Let the offense do what they did last week. I mean, they got out to a big lead. And I mean the Lions. I think
the Lions should be good this year.
Yeah, but I don't want to put them on the same level as Minnesota. They were good last year. Lions weren't, obviously, as they had the number 2 overall pick. But I mean, Eagles. It's an NFL team. We were dominant on offense, so you do that again. You run the ball and just let AJ Brown and get Devontae Smith involved. Get Dallas Goedert, Quez Watkins. They have receiving weapons too. So. If the Eagles are both teams should be looking to click and just make it this a really exciting game. Now for the last,
I think we just gotta look at what the Packers did in the second half, because he did not have much in the second half. I don't think he had a touchdown in the second half, did he?
No, he did not.
And he only had a couple receptions for 20 yards or something.
They were up.
Yeah, they were up a lot.
Scores,
but
so
still,
you run the ball when you're winning.
I guess, yeah, but still,
I mean, not
they
really.
passed it a decent amount, and
the one catch he had, it was 30 yards.
I know, but that was only one catch, and I just think if we can contain him, and just watch the tape what the Packers did last week in the second half, and we have much better we have much better corner depth. I think Jair Alexander's a great corner. He did not play that good last week, but I think Darius Slay is close to Jair Alexander's level, and James Bradbury and Devontae Maddox are much better than the other 2 corners who they have.
I really don't. I think it was just the Vikings. They weren't trying to run up the score. You're winning and that's kind of all that there is. Now for our last segment of the show, we're going to be going game by game, predicting each winner and loser. Starting off with the first week 1 matchup, as you can see as well as on the scroller here, we got Panthers-Giants in New York.
I think that would be a close game. I think the Panthers are winning just because I do not see the Giants doing good. I don't know how they won last week. I don't know how the Panthers lost last week. But, yeah,
the Panthers were down a ton.
I know, yeah, but I think they look like when they came back, everyone thought they were winning. I don't know how they didn't.
Because the field goal. The guy made a 58-yard field goal. It was impressive. It wasn't a Panthers messed it up. I'm taking Giants here. They look. I mean, you beat the 1 seed in the AFC. I don't care if they're a little depleted. You still beat them. So, and now you're playing a team that isn't that good. I mean, Baker Mayfield, he struggled in the past season and a half. Last year he was kind of hurt a lot, but he still was out there playing and looking bad. So, and CMC, I don't really think he had that good of a week last week.
He had a decent week.
All right. Well, I didn't pay attention to that game much. I do know that Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb both had really good games for the Browns.
Yeah.
So the running game and Saquon should definitely be something to look at. Next game, we're going to go 2 games in a row here. We got Patriots-Steelers and Dolphins-Ravens.
I think that the Steelers will win. They had a really good performance last week. The Patriots just had a really bad performance, and there's not much to say there. I think the Steelers should win pretty heavily. Their defense is a lot better, even without TJ Watt. And I already talked about the Dolphins-Ravens game earlier and how I think the Dolphins are going to win. But yeah, what about you, Jason?
All right, so I'm going to take Steelers as well. Patriots, their offense, they don't have much. Mac Jones was able to lead a team last year to the playoffs with not the best weapons. They went out, they got Devontae Parker.
Yeah,
but
he didn't play that good last week though.
They're just not looking to be a good team as much anymore as last year. You can't really compare to before Mac
Yeah.
Jones because he's the best player of all time. And Steelers defense, they were dominant over the Bengals, and I mean Minka saved the game basically with that blocked extra point. So and then Dolphins Ravens. I'm taking the Ravens. Last year, these two teams played. Sure, Dolphins got a lot of upgrades, but the Ravens, they were hurt a ton last year. Last week, sure you played the Jets, but still, they looked pretty good. Lamar had a good game, so I'm taking Ravens. Next, we're going with 3 games here: Jets, Browns, Commanders, Lions, Colts, Jaguars.
I think the Browns should beat the Jets because the Jets don't have their starting quarterback, and I don't see the Browns doing either, but I just think the Browns are a much better team coming off a win last week, and the Jets coming off a pretty embarrassing loss against the Ravens, even though the Ravens are a really good football team. I get to take the Lions over the Commanders in a fairly close game. Commanders looked decent last week. The Lions looked, or at least their offense looked really good against us. But I still have the Lions winning, and then I have the Colts over the Jaguars. We talked about that game a lot earlier, so yeah.
All right, so for that first game, Jets-Browns, I'm going to take Browns. That rushing attack. It's two. There's Nick Chubb, and who's one of the best running backs in the league, and then there is Kareem Hunt, who had 2 touchdowns last week. Next, Lions-Commanders. I'm gonna take Commanders. The line it'll be close, but Wentz looked really good. He had 4 passing touchdowns. Sure, he had 2 interceptions, but still, he looked really good. You don't want to say 2017 Wentz, but
that's what everyone was saying. I don't understand.
That's not.
That's not true at all.
4 passing touchdowns is good,
yeah,
but you threw 2 interceptions too.
Still isn't that?
And you almost lost
to the Jaguars.
So, but it was good. He's definitely looking better than he has. To me, I think of a couple games where he did good last year was that the Patriots Colts game. That was not that one. The Arizona Colts game.
Oh yeah.
He had some nice plays in there where he avoided some sacks, threw it he was fitting the ball in there coming to the end of the year, and then that final week against the final 2 weeks right against the Raiders and the Jags, they just kind of fell apart, which kind of fell on the Wentz's shoulders. And lastly, Colts Jags. I said possible upset being the Jags, and I'm gonna stick with that. I think it'll be close, but Colts off to a rough start, going 0-1-1. There. Next we're on 3 games again here: Bucs, Saints, Falcons, Rams, and Seahawks, Niners.
I already talked in my game about the Bucs Saints. Saints, I think, will win that. The Rams should easily beat the Falcons, even though the Falcons almost won last week and the Rams got dominated. The teams that they played and also how their rosters are looking, Rams should easily win that. And Seahawks, even though they won against the Broncos, I still don't think the Seahawks are a good team unless Geno Smith goes off again. And the 49ers, I think, are a better team, and I want to see what they can do without sliding all over the field. So, yeah, I'm going to take the 49ers over the Seahawks.
All right, so for me, Bucs, Saints. Vincent, that was one of his matchups that I talked about at the start of the show. Saints, I'm going to take that. Bucs only have Mike Evans, who's being guarded by Marshawn Lattimore, who's become a really good corner, top 10, maybe top 15 guy in the league. So Brady's not going to have much to work with, and last week they had 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
All game, and Pat made some points about it last week, and the off the field issues. He's those are some questions there. Next game, I'm taking the Rams over the Falcons, and then Niners over Seahawks. We're gonna kind of rapid fire the next games as the games are kind of starting at the moment. So we got Bengals, Cowboys, Texans, Broncos, Cardinals, Raiders, Bears, Packers, and then the Monday night games. You can kind of see at the top of the scroller there. Vincent, go ahead.
Yeah, I have Bengals over the Cowboys. I talked about that game. I forgot to say the predictions, but yeah, Bengals over the Cowboys. I don't think it'll be that close. I talked about that a lot. I still think the Broncos can bounce back well against the Texans, even though they played pretty well against the Colts. I still think the Broncos are a much better team and should win that game. Raiders over the Cardinals. I talked about that game a little bit in my exciting close games. I think the Raiders should win that in a pretty close game. And then Bears-Packers, we talked about that game also a little bit, and I think that the Packers should win. And then Vikings-Eagles, I think the Eagles win a really close game like we talked about.
Bills.
Bills-Titans, I forgot about that game. The Bills should win pretty heavily over the Titans.
All right, so now I'm just going to kind of go through them. Vincent gave pretty good reasons for all of them, but we got like 2 minutes before the game starts. So we got Bengals versus Cowboys. I'm taking the Bengals. It's going to be scrolling by at the top of your screen. They're right there. We got Broncos-Texans. At Denver, I'm taking Denver with a bounce-back win. Cardinals versus Raiders, I'm taking Raiders. Devontae Adams has a good game. Bears-Packers. Packers win that one by like 10 points. Aaron Rodgers has a bounce-back game. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, good games. Bills-Titans. Bills dominate that one. They looking great again. Josh Allen has another good game. And then lastly, Eagles versus Vikings. I'm taking the Eagles by 3 with a late field goal. That should definitely be an exciting game, as we talked about earlier in the show. Sorry for kind of rushing through the end. The games are starting. Hopefully you all have a good week enjoying your football, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.